We got a Yamaha Blaster crankcase today, guys. We're going to be putting bearings inside. Well, not all the bearings, but most of them. This was a basket case engine that was thrown in a box. We cleaned all the cases up last night, and some of the bearings have some tickies to them. Yeah, so we're going to show you how to put in bearings that are like a press fit, you know, where it's an interference fit, where the clearances are really tight. So first thing we usually do is we already have our bearings in the freezer. They've been in there for several hours already, getting cold. That way it shrinks down the metal bearing as small as it'll go. And then we have Mr. Heat Gun to heat up the aluminum housing where the bearing is going to be drove into. And you can either use, you know, a bearing seal driver, a press, hammer, and a socket, which we're going to be using. And we'll show you the proper technique of driving in the outer race and not on the inner race, so you don't mess up your new bearings. First one we're going to do is this left side crankcase is the crank bearing, which is going to go in here. So what we'll have Mark do is he's going to take the heat gun, he's going to heat up all of this aluminum area to kind of expand that out, get it to about, you know, 100, 200 degrees, probably closer to 200. That expands it just enough, and then when the bearing's, you know, 20 degrees, kind of, it might drop in, otherwise with a little bit of light tapping, tap, 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 pops right in. We have the proper tool, which is a bearing and seal installer. We have the Harbor Freight Special, which probably costs about 40, 50 bucks for the whole set. We find one that's just a slight bit larger than the bore that it's going in. This doesn't matter per se because it has a shoulder to bottom out on. But if you had a hole where it's got to be flush with the edge, you'd use one that's slightly larger than your bearing. Taps it in until it's flush, you're done. So that's how that's going to go. Take our hammer, drive it in. We got the heat gun ready. So he'll basically heat up that. I'll go grab the bearing out of the freezer real quick, and we'll begin driving it in.
And if you don't have a heat gun, don't recommend a microwave, but a stove, you know, if you have all your bearings out and you just want to heat the whole thing up in the stove, I know guys do that too. You know, just set your oven to so many degrees and just put it in there. Use gloves taking it out.
Oh yeah,
that'll definitely heat it up.
That's getting pretty warm. Like I said, around that 200 degrees is ideal. Here's our new bearing. It's got grease in it. It's one of those cheap kits on eBay, but usually OEM bearings, guys, are always recommended, or something of good quality. Coils, I don't know, Timkins, or whatever the heck brand they are. SKS. Anything that's name brand is usually best. Oh, that grease.
Wait. I don't know if the rag is on fire in there, or...
I think we're about hot enough, I think. We'll give her a shot.
Yeah.
All right, ready? Let me just take our driver. Dude, you want to talk about a guy getting rowdy? And we just look on our backside, and looks like she's bottomed out good.
Yeah, you can see through the little oil bubble there.
And then your seal, your outer seal, I'm one that always puts them in after the bottom end's assembled on these particular engines. Some guys always are putting them in first, then sliding the crank in. It's kind of your preference on that. But if you guys are curious, their oil hole here, you can see that, as Mark was saying, you can see that little opening there. Lets the oil get in your ball bearings. A little bit of chew marks here and there.
Yeah,
can't do much about it.
The Misa's got it.
These bearings all feel good. So this side's done. We got to do the other side now. We're on the other side of the crankcase now, heating up this little bearing here, little needle bearing. I'm gonna go get it out of the freezer and drive that one in. That one's basically just below flush. There's a taper on each side, like a bevel, and we'll get that in its nice happy medium spot. Looks the same on both sides, so we don't have to worry about that. Ready? See if she'll go. And we just gotta go probably a little bit with that socket there, yep. Just a skosh more. Let's check the other side then of the case. As long as it's like I said. Oh, dude, that's golden, buddy.
Perfect.
Spins?
No.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Okay.
Yep.
Do this one next.
This is not a hole. That's for the shift drum.
Oh, yeah.
So you got it. So I would do this one, then flip the case around and do the other one.
Okay.
And that's going to be this open bearing that we just got a bunch of dirt in, but it's the old one.
Super.
Oh, the sniffles, boys, I'm telling you. So, that size bearing.
Somebody decided to put oil on this thing.
I mean, that was
Smells terrible.
That's definitely not me.
Yeah, you got a bunch in this one.
Yeah, that could be. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Whew. I think she'll drive it. You know, yeah, I was gonna say don't break that ear off on the backside.
Alright.
Nice. See if she touched the bottom.
Oh yeah.
She's flush. She spins.
Yeah.
Nice.
Alright, crank bearing.
Well, we can do the crank bearing too. Here's our crank bearing for the right side case. They are different sizes between the left and right side, so don't be alarmed, guys. That is normal. For this engine, at least. This bearing is absolutely freezing cold, so that's a good sign. I always do it this way because then when the bearings are in, I can heat the bearing back up when the crank goes in with the heat gun and freeze the crank. And it makes the install way easier than trying to do it other different ways. So that's just the way I've always done it.
Ready?
I'm ready.
That one almost fell in.
Almost fell in. She's close. Beautiful. She's there. Yeah, it's good. She's there. Perfect. All right, so this one here would be very delicate. We don't want to smash that lip off, so when we drive it in, we'd be a little bit more delicate. This one here has got a closed portion on one side and an open portion on the other side. You want the open portion of the bearing to go towards the transmission in the inside. So when you're doing it like this, you'd be looking at the closed portion facing you. Obviously, you pay attention. It's very critical which orientation the bearing is sometimes. So before you remove the old bearings, always take note of that. Ooh,
The case is warm.
yeah, she's warm. So once again, heating this one. I'll grab the last bearing, buddy.
Yeah, bearing buddy. We didn't need to use one, thankfully.
And just like this. Now we'll get it a little more square. Yep, wipe our dirt off. She's in.
You can hear the note change.
And this one here, yeah, so you can hear how it flattens out. And then we have actually a bearing retainer on that one too, so that one doesn't come out. It'll be a strap. Yep.
Strap, right, that the screws were.
Nice and tight. That is how you put bearings in a crankcase when they're like a press fit or sweat fit, some guys say. That's how we've been doing it for many, many engine builds, so. Has not failed us yet, buddy.
Nope.
Take your time, and if it's not going in square, you know, don't keep busting the cases off and hammering it till it's no end. Just try to find where it's high, tap her flush again, and drive her in. But heating it up and freezing is like the answer.
Yeah.
Makes it way easier to drive in. You can do it without heating, but you're gonna want to press or something because it's a real tight fit. So bearings are in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little informational video. And if you have questions, let us know in the comments.